Hello, welcome to Classical Greek Latin. This is Latin lesson number 11 for Wheelock chapter 10, and we're using Wheelock's 7th edition. And today we're talking about the fourth conjugation and third conjugation IO verbs. All right, and my name is Josh, and I am the teacher for this course. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's just skim through this first paragraph real quick. Let me zoom in for you. All right, so we'll just read it. This chapter introduces the active voice of the last of the regular conjugations. So there are only 4 conjugations. When they say the last of the regular, they're just talking about the other verbs, individual verbs that don't conform to one of these 4 conjugations. All right, so this fourth conjugation that we're learning today is the last conjugation or set that you will learn. There are no more conjugations after this. The irregulars are just individual isolated verbs, right? So we're done learning verbs, basically. All right, we got the framework set. Okay, so this is the last of the conjugations, the fourth conjugation. All right, and the sample here is audio, audiere, audivi, auditum. And we'll take a look at page 501 in just a second to see all these together in context. All right, and the IO verb of the third conjugation. All right, so you have capio, capere, capi, captum. All right, and just as a side note, you know that I like, if you've been watching these videos, I like to make this a us on the end, so captus, auditus, okay? And I do that because later on, this fourth principal part can actually change its gender. All right, but let's not get sidetracked with that. So capio, capere, capi, captum or captus for third IO, and then audio, audiere, audivi, auditum or auditus for fourth conjugation. So let's talk about that some. So like the first 2 conjugations, the fourth is characterized by a long stem vowel, namely, as seen in the paradigm below, the I. So again, what is very helpful here in understanding the vowel here is to understand it as phonetics or sounds in the mouth and how sounds are made. So a long vowel is a strong vowel. That means that vowel is given more time. Okay, so it's the quantity, not the quality. So I and I are 2 different vowels. That's quality. E and E, that's quantity. So the first one is I, short or weak. The second one is E, which is, I'm exaggerating, but it's long or strong. And if a vowel is strong, it's less susceptible to changing. And if it is weak or short, it's more inclined to change. So if you can keep that concept in your mind, some of this below will become intuitive for you. All right? So the long I is retained through all the present system tenses, present, future, imperfect. Okay? So when they say present system, what they're talking about is this first principal part. Okay? So you always have 4 principal parts for Latin verbs. Greek has 6. But Latin has only 4. All right, so the present system is built on this first principal part. Okay, so that means that we manipulate this first principal part out of the other 4 or other 3 to get both the present tense, the imperfect, and the future. All right, so for example, you remember that in the present, for first and second conjugation, the verbs we use were laudo and moneo, from laudare and monere. We have the present, which would be laudo, laudas, laudat, and then, or moneo, mones, monate. All right, and then we take that same root, lauda, and just add bam, bas, bat, lauda, bam, and so on, or mone, bam for the imperfect, and then bo, bis, beat. We add that on to that same stem for the future. But everything is being just a manipulation of this first principal part in each of these four conjugations, first, second, third, fourth conjugation, and third IO, to produce the present tense, imperfect, and future. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you have questions about that, put that in the comments below. Okay, so although it is shortened, so that we're talking about the long I, so although it is in the fourth conjugation, although it is shortened before vowels as well as before the final T, okay, so they're talking about, if you look down here at the chart, let me zoom out a little bit. So if you look at the chart down here, what they're talking about is, so this is the fourth conjugation here, and I do not know why they ordered it this way, but we'll talk about that in a second. So what they're talking about is the fourth conjugation has a long I, except here, before that first person O, and then here before that T, right? So my theory here is that it shortens here because it's got to cut itself short to make that short T sound, which is unvocalized, right? So it doesn't want to share any of its vocalization. I'm going into the phonetics here. It doesn't want to share its vocalization with the T, so the T shuts it off. So it's got to shorten that long I to a short I, so the T can have his time, which is very short. Versus the S, which also has no vocalization to it, but it is longer than a short T here. That's my theory. So think about that. If you can think of another reason why this might be a short I here, or even here, the first person singular, put those in the comments below. I'd like to know your ideas on that. But yeah, otherwise it's going to have a long I everywhere else. And then except here in the third person plural, where we have that famous oo, und, right? Okay, let's go back to the paragraph here and finish this up. All right? So before final T, it becomes short, all right? Certain third conjugation verbs are formed in the same way in the present system, except that the I is everywhere short and E appears, I'm using English pronunciation here, E or A in Latin, E appears as the stem vowel in the singular imperative, okay? Again, so this is cap A from capio, capere. So it has the same second principal part as ago, agere, right? So let me write out ago here. So we have ago. Now this is just a straight up third conjugation verb. We've already learned this. That's what they put here for review, just for reference. We'll go look at page 501, like I said, in just a minute. All right, so then you have agere, and then egi, and then actus, or actum if you so prefer, okay? So that is the third conjugation, all right? And we're talking about the third conjugation within an IO that pops up and is consistent there, okay? So they're talking about the imperative, and we'll talk about this later on when we get to the next page. But the imperative, second person singular imperative, is going to look the same for the third conjugation IO, that is capio, capere, as the second person singular imperative for third conjugation agere, so age, right? So the imperative here for ago, agere is going to be age, and that's imperative second person singular. But we'll cover that in a second, okay? So, okay, yeah. So ago is presented alongside these new paradigms for comparison and review, right? And they say see chapter 8. But let's look at page 501 real quick, and we'll put all this in context just as a quick review. 501, page 501 is your friend, maybe one of your best friends. All right, let's see, we're going to go back to page 80. All right, so we have, all right, let's look at all these together. All right, there are our conjugations, okay? So there are only four conjugations, and then this fifth one is a third conjugation who cannot make up his mind if he wants to be third conjugation or fourth conjugation. So he's in the middle, right? So if I don't know why they didn't do this, but if I were to write this grammar, I would have put it right there. Okay. That being said, Mr. Wheelock is far above me in his skills in Latin, so I make that correction with all due respect. But I would put the third io capio there, right after the third conjugation proper, because capio, capere, agere, they're in the same family, right? So he should be up there after agere before you get to audire, right? Again, the third conjugation, io, he cannot make up his mind where he wants to be. So he's going to be between those. All right, but yeah, that's the full context. These are all the conjugations in Greek, or excuse me, all the conjugations in Latin that you're going to see. And anything beyond this is just going to be random acts of irregularity, okay? Which keep it interesting. But this is, yeah, so this is it. So we have laudo, laudare, and we're practicing our pronunciation and listening, because if you can remember how things are pronounced, they will help you keep these separate, okay? Because these last three here, ago, capio, audio, all very easy to confuse, okay? So let's do this just for fun. Laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatus, I say, okay? Second conjugation, this is old news. Moneo, monere, monui, monitus. All right? And then third conjugation, ago, agere, short e, egi, actus. All right? And then we'll go down to here. Third conjugation, but io, capio, e, capio, capere, short e, or a in Latin pronunciation, and then capi, and then captus, captus. Notice something interesting here. Whenever you see similarities or differences, take note and see if you see similarities and differences in the future. So note here we have a vowel change for the third principal part from ago to egi. And here we have similar change from capio, a, to capi. So those are doing the same thing there. So something to note, to think about in the future. All right, and then our last conjugation, fourth conjugation, we got our long, well, here in the first person singular it's short, but we got our strong I, right? Our strong I, he's long, he's strong, he doesn't like to change, he's going to hang around for forever. Audio, audire, hear the strength there, that long I. Audire, audivi, auditus. Okay? All right, so that's there for reference, for good contextual remembrance. Let's go back to page 80. Again, so this chapter is pretty simple. It's really just memorization. And what I'm trying to do is to help you think more deeply about what's happening with the phonetics, and to make the memorization more intuitive and less mechanical for you. More like language and less like math. All right. So, yeah, so you're going to want to memorize these charts, but let's take a look at these real quick. All right. And again, in my humble opinion, I think this third conjugation verb with an IO wannabe here, you could say, should be over here, between the real committed third conjugation, ago, agere, and the real and committed fourth conjugation. All right, we have our our double-minded verb here, third IO, he can't make up his mind. So he should be there in the middle. But yeah, take a look here. We're looking at the present tense, okay? So with the third conjugation, third IO, and fourth conjugations, you're going to have the I present, okay? Now with third IO and fourth conjugation, having an I in the present, audio, audis, audit, audimus, auditis, audiunt, okay? And that U comes in mostly because of this nasal N. We've talked about this before, right? And that I is strong enough to stay there and not go away. He's not going to be bullied by the unt here, okay? He's going to stay. Unlike over here, he got pushed out, right? Okay, so, all right. And then here you have the same, you have the short I's here in the third IO, right? So these I's, they're not long like over here, okay? They're short, again, because he's non-committal. He can't make up his mind. So it's just going to be a little short I, right? He wants to be like the fourth conjugation, but he can't bring himself to completely leave the third conjugation. So he's in the middle there, okay? And again, I think we already stated this, but the I here is short because of this long O, to emphasize the long O for first person singular. And then the I is short here in third person singular because of that percussive voiceless T, right? You got to make room for him. And then it's short here because of the U, und, right? So the U comes in, so you don't have audient, you have audiunt, because that nasal is just too much to do with the E sound right beside it, right? Okay, but otherwise, those reasons for the short I in the third plural, third singular, and first person singular are phonetic reasons, right? Because of the personal endings added on to the end. But at heart, this fourth conjugation, that I is strong, that I is long, okay? And here, we just have a haphazard I, a weak I, short I, all the way through, because he's principally uncommitted to that I. He's a third conjugation, really, should be over here, trying to masquerade as fourth conjugation. Okay, so make sure to memorize this, okay? Remember, third conjugation over here, and really the third conjugation here, the IO, is unexpected for the present tense, because remember, ago, agere, you would expect in the present tense to be ages, right? And we've already learned this, but that's kind of weird. It does go to the E or the I in English, right? So agis, not ages, for third conjugation, right? And then in the first person singular for third conjugation proper, it's just ago, right? Just like here, ago, agere, third conjugation proper. Now, third conjugation capio, who can't make up his mind if he wants to be third or fourth conjugation, he's going to present an I there in the first person singular, okay? And also in the third person plural. So just some things to keep in mind, but this is present tense for third and fourth conjugation and third IO, okay? All right, with that in mind, let's take a look at the future tense, which is usually confused with the present tense for these particular conjugations, third conjugation largely, and IO included in that. But let's refresh ourselves with the future, okay? Now I've written a note here, no, bow, right? So if you remember, the future marker for first and second conjugation is bo, bis, beat, bimus, bitis, bunt, right? And that I changes to U before the nasal N, okay? So again, look at page 501 to refresh on that. That's where we were just at a second ago. Bo, bis, beat, bimus, bitis, bunt. That does not happen for third or fourth conjugation verbs for the future, okay? So we've already seen this before And there's really nothing new here except that strong I, even though you've added a vowel suffix on here for the personal ending, that I is strong enough. Now this is fourth conjugation, audio, audire, right? That I is strong enough to persist and remain there even with the addition of personal endings. Okay, so this is third conjugation proper, right? We've already done this, and this is future tense, remember. Agam, es ate, amus etis ain't. Not pronounced agent. I know some of you just said that in your minds. Againt, not agent. Okay, so agam, ages, agate, agemus, agetis, againt. All right, but in the fourth conjugation, he's committed to that I. He's audio, audire. He doesn't change his mind. He keeps that I. So that's what he's going to do here. Audi, audi, ace. This is future, right? I will hear, you will hear. That is with your ear. You'll hear a sound, right? Audi, eight. Okay. And audi, mus. Audi, etis. Audi, ain't. Okay. So it's not audint, it's audi ain't. Okay, so that I stays in the fourth conjugation, unlike the third conjugation proper. I know I'm being redundant. I hope it is being helpful to you. All right, so this is third conjugation. We're going to call him wannabe IO. Third conjugation, he's a third conjugation verb who pretends to be an IO verb, okay? He's a pretender. Now he's real, but yeah, he can't make up his mind. Okay, so again, copio, dictionary entry for this guy. Let me write this out real quick. So we have copio, capere, not capire, and then capi, and then coptus. All right, and that's just there. I realize that's on the opposite page, but my page is folded under. All right, so copio, capere, capi, coptus. This is our third conjugation verb, pretending or wanting to be an IO verb, okay? So he's gonna try to trick us here. But copiam, copies, copiate, copiemus, copietis, copiaint, okay? And he does a pretty good job here, because if you look at the length of the vowels here between fourth and third conjugation IO, they're all the same. So this is future, okay? This is talking about things that are going to happen in the future. Yeah, they will happen in the future, okay? All right, with that in mind, let's look at the imperfect here, all right? Okay, so we had, let me zoom out a little bit so we can see these together. So you had, again, the future, this is third conjugation IO, and then fourth conjugation proper, okay? No bow endings for the future, but yes, bomb endings for the imperfect, okay? So just like the first and second conjugation, laudare, first conjugation, monere, second conjugation, you're just going to tack on bom, bos, bot, and so on to those to make the imperfect, right? I was praising, lauda bom. Mone bom, I was advising or warning, right? You're taking the root, lauda, and adding bom. Mone, and adding bom. Same thing for third and fourth conjugation and that pesky third IO conjugation. Bom, bos, bot, bomus, batis, bont, bom, bos, bot, bomus, batis, bont, bom, bos, bot, bomus, batis, bont. All the same. The only thing to note here is that I, again, that I is strong. He's persistent, so he's going to stay. He's attached to the hip, you could say, with the stem of the word, audi. Right? He's always going to be there. Okay? And then again, capio, capere, the third conjugation, who wants to be like the I, that IO verb, he's going to keep that I too, all the way through. Okay? Now these I's are all short. because you're going to have the A here. I'm using Latin pronunciation there. In English, it's the E. It's not just audibam, audibas. That is not that way. It's audie bam, audie bas, audie bot, and so on. And then copy A bam, copy A bas, copy A bot, and so on. Okay, so that's not expected. You would you would expect it to be just that long I between the root or stem of the word and the personal ending. My theory here is that the A there is inserted what grammarians call by analogy, and that is that the ear had been so attuned to hearing that sound in verbs like agebam or monebam that that A sound before the personal ending was maintained by analogy or likeness to what they were accustomed to hearing in the first in the second conjugation, monebam, right? And then also third conjugation here. That's my theory. Again, if you have a theory as to why that A is there, take a look at that. And all right, yeah, put your comments below on that. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Let's look at so we've done present, we've done future, and we have done imperfect. And let's be consistent with our nitpicking of highly respected Mr. Wheelock. We're going to put our wannabe fourth conjugation verb, which is actually a third conjugation verb, between the third and fourth conjugation paradigms there. Okay. All right, let's look at let's look at the imperative, the commanding forms here. All right. So these are asking or saying, commanding that something be done, changed, altered. Close the door. That is to say the door is open currently, right? So close it. It's a command. Turn the lights out. That's a command. The lights are on. They want them out. We want something to change, right? So again, very simple. In Latin, you have just second person. You give command to people that you're talking to in the second person. Greek, you can do this in the third person, but that's for another time. All right. Another video for that. If you want to check out the Greek side, come to the Greek side. All right. Anyway, I'm just joking. But let's look here. So age, we've done this before. You have your, I'm going to print it out here so you can see it. I'm going to write out the second principal part, right? Agere, to lead. Going to drop that RE, and you're left with the root of the word age, and that's your second person singular imperative, okay? For third conjugation proper, for the plural, it's agite. Agite. You would not expect that I. You would probably expect agete. Okay? We've talked about this before. It's agite. All right? And this is where you see a little compromise even in the third conjugation, probably leading to this guy's compromise here, right? So, capio, capere. Agere, capere. All right? Third conjugation, that's the second principal part. But the first principal part is a wannabe fourth conjugation, right? So capio, capere. But for the second person singular imperative, right, it is going to be, you maintain that. You drop the RE and you maintain that A sound in Latin or E as an English letter. All right, so cape. Fourth conjugation is easy. That I is strong. You cannot push him out of the way. Audio, audire. He is not going anywhere. So second person singular, second person plural. You've got a solid audi. Listen up, you. Audite. This is probably a teacher's, one of his favorite words. Audite. Y'all listen. Y'all hear. Okay? Anyway, don't be distracted. Strong I, audi, just as you would expect, right? So, again, I'll write out the second principal part here. Audire. All right, first principal part is audio. All right, you drop that RE. You're left with your imperative, the root, audi. And then you add the te for the second person plural, right? I think that. No third person imperative in Latin. That is in Greek. Okay. All right, let's go on. Let's take a look here. I think let me just skim this real quick. I've got some notes here I want to cover, but let's make sure we're not skipping over anything. Conjugation of audio. The ire distinguishes the infinitive of the fourth conjugation from those of the other conjugations. Are, first conjugation. Ere, second conjugation. Ere, third conjugation. And capere, wannabe, io, third conjugation. When I say wannabe, he does use the io, but he is a third conjugation verb who wants very much to be a fourth conjugation, but he can't commit all the way. But yeah, that's an old, you know that already. Then ire, fourth conjugation. Okay? All right. As in the case of the first two conjugations, the rule for the information of the present indicative is to add the personal endings to the present stem, audi. In the third person plural, this rule would give us, okay, yeah, we talked a little bit about this. So when they put a little asterisk there, let me zoom in so you can see this. When they put the little asterisk there, that they're telling you, they're showing you this is what you would expect, but this is not a thing. This is made up. This does not appear in Latin anywhere, right? So that just means not real, not real. They're just using this as to demonstrate, okay? So it's not audient, as you would think, or you might think audunt, by analogy with the third conjugation. That also I put an asterisk by, because this is also not a real thing in the fourth conjugation, okay? It's audiunt, as we've just learned. Okay, so the actual form is audiunt, and ending reminiscent of agunt, except that that I stays there because he's strong, the fourth conjugation. Okay? Here we go. We got a star here. This should get interesting. For the future of audio, a good rule of thumb is this. Future of audio. Shorten the E, long I, of the present stem, audi, and add the future endings of ago. Es, et, emus, etis, ain't. Once again, as in the third conjugation, A is the characteristic vowel of the future. Okay? That's what we talked about up here. All right? Yeah, you can think of it that way if you so desire. Not bad advice. All right? The imperfect is formed with EA, or English IE, okay? Instead of simply the stem vowel. Now, we talked about this, right? Well, we talked about this up here, where we add the A in Latin or E in English by se, by analogy with the third conjugation there, and the second conjugation, monet, right? The sound is familiar, so it's maintained. That's my theory. All right, so the imperfect is formed with the EA, or IE, instead of simply the stem vowel I, which is really what you would expect, right? We talked about that before the ba tense sign, so that the forms are audiebam. This is correct. Audiebas. No asterisks. These are real forms, all right? The real deal here. Etc. Right, and following. Rather than, again, asterisk here, not a thing. They're just showing you this is what you would expect intuitively, but language is often irregular, which makes it interesting and makes it fun. But this is what you would expect, not what you get. All right, this is the real thing over here. This is how it really is. This is how it is in your mind. It's not real. Okay, so yeah, strike that out of your mind. Insert this into your mind, and you will be good. All right, etc. As might be expected. Okay, and we talked about analogy. That is analogy because of that E by analogy, right? Let's not rehash that right now. All right. Okay, we talked about the imperative. Let me not bore you with that. You can read that on your own. Let me see here. All right, the last Patreon lesson I did was well over an hour, so I'm happy to keep this one. Looks like it's going to be under 45 minutes, so I'm thankful. Try to keep it under 45 here. All right. So I've got some stars here. Let's talk about here conjugation. We're on page 82. Conjugation of capio. Okay, there's that third conjugation. Okay, wants to be a fourth conjugation. As seen from its short E or A stem vowel, capere is clearly an infinitive of the third conjugation, not of the fourth. We try to tell him this, he does not listen. The imperative forms also show that this is a verb of the third conjugation. All right, talking about cape, right? Take, you take, singular. That's over here. That's what we're referencing right here. Right, imperative. That is like the third conjugation. That's what they're saying. All right. Okay, so the imperative form, All right, the present, future, and imperfect indicative of capio follow the pattern of audio. There's this fourth conjugation thing, mimicking, except that capio, like ago, has a short I in capis, capimus, capitis. We talked about this, all right? Note carefully again that the I, or E in Latin, appears in all, here we go, this is important, appears in all present system active indicative forms. Present system, that is your present tense, present system. Imperfect tense, present system. That means it's built on the first principal part. And future tense, present system. That means it's also built on the first principal part. Okay, we talked about that. All right. Okay, so for both fourth conjugation and third IO verbs. All right. And let me write that out for you. So you have, I'm going to write just first, second, third, and fourth. Now these are, I hope I'm not confusing here. I'm using this is just principal parts, okay? Not to be confused with conjugations. All right. I know this is review, but I don't want to confuse you. Let's go back to page 501. Oh, there we go. There's a lucky page turn. All right. So we'll go to page 501. Here we go. This is a good example. First conjugation is laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatus. Second conjugation, moneo, monere, monui, monitus. Third conjugation, you get it. Third IO, and then fourth conjugation, okay? And then within each conjugation, you have principal parts. You have four. One, first principal part, second principal part, third principal part, fourth principal part. But all laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatus, or there's four principal parts. Those are all principal parts in the first conjugation. Each conjugation has principal parts. The present system refers to the first principal part, which is used to form both the present tense, which is not the same thing as the present system. The present tense is built on the first principal part. The imperfect tense is built on the first principal part. And the future tense is built on the first principal part. Okay? That is, we add the personal endings to this present system first principal part. Okay? This will make more sense when we get to the perfect and we start adding personal endings to the third principal part. Okay? But that being said, let's go back and finish up the lesson for today. All right, let's see here. Okay. Okay, so vocab, we're into vocab now. The end is nigh. All right. That can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on life choices. Okay, without careful vocabulary study, third conjugation, IO verbs, and fourth conjugation, verbs may be easily confused. The second principal part is the sure indicator, okay? This is why I wrote out the four principal parts earlier on in the lesson, okay? Hold that in your mind. We're going to conjugate these verbs down here. Let me scoot this up so you can see. We're going to conjugate these verbs in just a second in the present imperfect, and future. And then, but we'll look at the dictionary entry to drive this home, right? Looking at the second principle part. Dik, duk, vak, ver, imperative singulars. All right. If you want to review, give me 1 second here. If you would like a review on those, we covered that earlier. Confer with page 65. Okay. All right. And okay, so let's conjugate wiwo, fugio, and wenio. All right. You know, that's interesting here. They have the third conjugation here, followed by third conjugation io here, and then the fourth conjugation here. So I wonder why they list their words in the order I prefer here, but they don't do so in their charts. Okay, let's look at the vocab. This is your vocab here, but I'm really eager to look at wiwo, fugio, and wenio, and that's going to be on our next page. All right, so when you are memorizing these words, especially these verbs, now that we've got so many pretending verbs, third conjugation verbs trying to be fourth conjugation, pronunciation will save you because your ear will remember what it heard. If you're pronouncing, well, your ear will remember whether you pronounce it correctly or not, but so pronounce it correctly. Let me show you here. All right, so fugio. This is third conjugation, io. How do I know it's third conjugation? Fugere. Right, it's not fugire, not fugire. If that were so, this would be fourth conjugation. It is fugere. Short e, short a. Right? And then the present system, the first principal part, is fugio. Right? Wannabe. Okay? He wants to be like the fourth, but he's truly third conjugation. All right? Now, wenio, this is a true blue fourth conjugation. And how do I know that? Wenio looks the same as fugio. Wenio, even a short I, short I. But how do I know this is fourth conjugation? Venire, not venere. Venire, fourth conjugation. He is committed to that strong, long I sound in E in Latin pronunciation. So fugere, third conjugation. Venire, fourth conjugation. All right? And that's the same. Repeat with a preposition on the front. Boring, but okay, I'm just kidding. And now we have our third conjugation. We've done this before in previous chapters. Wiwo, no I. This guy is committed to being third conjugation. He's content with life. All right, wiwo, wiwere, wiwere. All right? Okay, so third conjugation, wiwere. Third conjugation, fugere, but third conjugation, io. Okay? Third conjugation, just straight third conjugation. All right? All right, let's take a look here. Let's, as I promised, this will be the last thing that we do. Let me write these out for you so you can see the creation of these conjugations out of the nothingness from which they came. All right? Okay. So let's do, I'm going to use 2 pages here so we can keep them all together. We're going to do present first. So we're going to do present. Let's just be, we will be formal today. Indicative, active. Okay. We're going to do present, indicative, active. And then we're going to do, let's see, we'll do third conjugation first. And then I'll see how much room we have here. Then we have singular. All right. And then we have 1, 2, 3. All right. And what are we doing again? We are doing, that's right, wiwo, wiwere. All right. So let's write out wiwo, wiwere. All right, let's just do the full dictionary form here. Weeksy. and week tum. All right. I went into print there just to help the eyes a little better. I did write week tum, which is not my custom, but this means to live, right? Okay, we will. This Elvis Presley talks about this, right? What does he sing song like Viva Las Vegas? He knew Latin, who knew? All right, so we're going to conjugate this in the present indicative active. This is a real third conjugation verb, all right? So let's do that real quick. So we're going to have we will. All right. And then we're going to have we's. And then we're going to have wheat. All right, and then we're going to have the plural here. First, second, third person. We're going to have we moose. This is a funny word. And then we're going to have we tease. All right, and then we're going to have we won't. All right, so that's what that word looks like. All right, let's do our third conjugation, but I-O. I'm trying to think about spacing here on the page. Let's squeeze it in. Do I want to split it? I guess we could split it. All right, so we'll do third I-O. Okay. So we're going to do fugio. I hope this is not hurting the eyes. All right, so we have fugio. There's an I-O, wannabe man. Fugere. Right? And then fugi. And then fugiturum. There's an ending we don't see every day. Fugi, we'll talk about that later on in future chapters. All right, so fugio, fugere, fugi, fugiturum. All right, so this is third conjugation, fugere. All right, this means to flee, fugitive, right? But it's third I-O. So let's conjugate this real quick. So we're going to have our singular, and then we'll have first person, second person, third person. Okay. All right, now this is where first person singular is where he's going to distinguish himself. He's going to bring in that I-O, right? So we're going to have fugio. All right, and then we're going to look just like third conjugation here. We're going to have fugis, fugit. All right, and now we'll do plural, first, second, third person. And now we have fugimus, fugitis. And then now here, that I is going to stay there. You're going to have not fuguns, like you would expect from here. This is where he's going to try and be that I-O, fugiuns. All right. So there's that. And now do we have room for a fourth conjugation here? Let's do hoinio, venire. We will squeeze him in. All right. So fourth conjugation now. All right. So venio, venio, venire, veni, and then ventum. Okay, and again, if you want to put us on the ending there, I typically do, but I'm being swept away with Wheelock's influence at the moment. All right, so venio, venire, veni, ventum. Okay, to come, right? This is the famous saying, veni, vidi, vici, right? I came, I saw, I conquered. All right, let's do. We'll do singular. All right, first person, second person, third person. All right, And let's see here. All right, now remember Wenio, venire, he's committed fourth conjugation. He's not pretending. All right, so we have Wenio. Now we're gonna keep this I, but remember it's going to be long because he's strong. Wenis, okay, and then right, wenit. Now it's short there because of the T. It's short here. All right, because of that emphasis on that personal O, but the I is going to be strong where it's not under the influence of vowel evolution or whatnot. All right, phonetic shifts. All right, so now we have first person, second person, third person, plural. Okay, and now we're going to have venimus. Okay, long I. And we're going to have venitis, long I, and now we're going to have veniunt, okay, short I, because of all this nasal stuff going on over here with that oo, right? So there you have it. There's the present indicative active of what we've been learning today. So you can get it all in one shot. Close. There we go. Okay, let's see here. All right, but you get the idea. I'm going to cut it short there because the lesson is going long. But go ahead and continue that in the future and in perfect, following the patterns that they gave you in the book. All right? So that's the lesson for today. The exercises are as usual. Let's see here, page 83. Exercitaciones. All right. So go ahead and translate that. You have mostly Latin, English, and some English to Latin at the end. We provide the answers for those on our Patreon page for patrons. That is $10 a month. And the link for that is in the description below. I've also added links for all the books that I use. Not all the books, but the important books that I use. That is also in the description now. All right. Then your Sententia Antiquae. All right, real, live, wild Latin from the wild in real Latin text. And this is always fun. Take a look at that, work through that. And again, the answers for that will be on Patreon. And the link for Patreon, again, is below in the description. And then the rest, again, is for your personal enjoyment. Knock yourself out there. Not a ton of history for this chapter, but always fun stuff to read. All right? And then our next Latin lesson will be personal pronouns. Ego. There's a famous word. Ego. Okay? All right, but that's for next time. Today we did chapter 10 in Wheelock's 7th edition, fourth conjugation and third conjugation verbs trying to be like the fourth conjugation. So I hope you found this helpful. We went over 45 minutes a little bit, but I hope you found it helpful. Leave comments, questions, suggestions in the comments below, and I will take a look at those as I can and try to respond to you. Consider subscribing to our Patreon if you would like to get some help on the homework. That's $10 a month. And I will see you next time. All right. Thank you and take care. Bye.